Hi, my name is Skylar Wilbanks, and this is my presentation on the Sustainable Urban Development Plan for the future of the Martha T. Nesbitt Building. So going to the second slide, what area of UNG will I be applying sustainable urban design techniques to? So I chose the Martha T. Nesbitt Academic Building and the land surrounding the building. Nesbitt itself is the tallest of all the buildings at UNG Gainesville. There are several floors. Leading up to the building, there's a huge space of pavement. There's also parking lots beside it. So currently, the Nesbitt building is utilized for English and foreign language classes and offices. The building is popular for the Starbucks coffee shop. There's also a language lab and a writing center for students. So going to the third slide, this is the front of Nesbitt, showing you what it looks like from the front. And on the fourth slide, there's an aerial view of Nesbitt. Alright. And the fifth slide, so the pros and cons of Nesbitt. So first for the pros, there's a lot of land around the building, a lot of free land at the back of the building. The building is very tall, so it has a smaller footprint. We have a bus transport system that students use to get to Nesbitt if they can't find parking beside Nesbitt. The use of bins where trash is separated into the landfill, plastics, and trash. There's huge windows for sunlight in Nesbitt. There's windows everywhere. The cons, the building is so big that might mean there's some unnecessary space and they're spending a lot of money heating and cooling rooms. There's a large space of concrete in front of and beside of Nesbitt and 2 sections of parking lot beside the building. This creates a lot of standing water. We don't have dual flush toilets in the building or low flow sinks. No green roof, cistern, or rain barrels. So going to the 6th slide, this is where I have explained sustainable urban development. So what is sustainable urban development? So I described it as changes that can be made to an area to improve the impact on the environment and society. So the 2 that we're going to be focusing on for the Martha T. Nesbitt building is water conservation and keeping runoff in the system. So first, for water conservation. So water conservation is the act of managing, controlling, and preserving water. This can be done in many ways. So like implementing low flow sinks, dual flush toilets, drip irrigation, putting out rain barrels, and installing cisterns and green roofs. So on campus, this would be beneficial because it will mean we are doing our part to conserve water and save money, save the college money that could be spent in another area of concern. And the second one is keeping runoff in the system. So in a system with several different impervious surfaces, such as pavements, parking lots, and buildings, it can cause rain to not be able to get into the soil. And an impervious surface is basically something, water cannot penetrate it. When it rains, it runs off and goes into the streams and lakes, causing it to flash flood. This is detrimental to the system because of the rest of the year the groundwater does not get recharged. The way we are going to improve this issue is by planting more trees and plants, creating a rooftop garden, building a parking deck, installing a cistern for water from gutters, and rain barrels that collect rooftop rainwater. Alright, going on to slide 7. So the first sustainable urban development we're talking about is water conservation. So what is the plan? We will replace regular sinks with sensor faucets, which are low flow sinks, and then replace the auto flush toilets with American Standard dual flush toilets. So what are the costs and savings? So American Standard dual flush toilets cost about $350 per toilet, and that includes installation. And then the replacement for bathroom sinks can cost around $300 for a Sloan sensor faucet. Then to remove and install it can cost anywhere from $200 to $500. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, you can save up to $100 every year when switching to dual flush toilets. So that's pretty awesome savings. Alright, on to slide 8. This is showing a before and after, comparing the type of sink and toilet we have now compared to what it will be after. So before, here's a picture of, we have the ones with the handles, those type of sinks. So after, we'll replace it with the Sloan, the sensor faucets. And then before, for the toilets, we had the auto flush toilets, and they seem to waste water because they always, flush even when they don't need to. And then we're switching them to the dual flush toilets when you can choose how much water you need to use with the two different option button on the top. Alright, for slide 9, so what are the pros and cons? The pros, saving water, saving money on the water bill, switching to these faucets and toilets. The cons would be the cost of replacing the toilets and sinks in every bathroom in Nesbit, because there's there's many bathrooms in Nesbit. But what are the benefits? So low flow toilets and sinks will help in conserving tons of water. The average person with a dual flush toilet will use 40% less water if replaced with a dual flush toilet. The campus will save money on the water bill as well. By switching to sensor faucets, it can save up to 60 to 80% of water. So before and after, before water was being wasted because we didn't invest in water saving appliances. After, even though we had to make the initial investment of buying the low flow sinks and low flush toilets, we are now saving water and saving money on the water bill over time. Alright, and then slide 10. So how will it affect the sustainability of campus? In our university, taking these steps to conserve water will make a difference in the outer community. We are not only saving several gallons of water, but we are saving money. We'll have to pay for replacing the fixtures in the bathrooms, but over time, the campus will save money overall in conserving water. In making this change, we will reduce the energy we're using as well. Alright, and on to slide 11. So the second sustainable urban development we are talking about applying to Nesbit is keeping runoff in the system. So what is the plan? First, we're going to plant more trees and plants, like shrubs and flowers, throughout the land in front of and around the building. Second, we're going to create a rooftop garden. Third, replace the 2 separate parking lots with a parking deck to utilize the space beside Nesbit, and make it one section where there's a parking deck, and take the other section out to have natural land. So fourth, we're going to put out rain barrels to catch rooftop rainwater. Then we're going to install a cistern. So what are the benefits? More pervious surfaces to reduce flooding and pollution, more recharged groundwater, less standing water in front of the building, less runoff means less sediment and less pollution and less trash being carried into the streams. So that's pretty awesome. And then for slide 12, I did the best I could putting a picture of Nesbit and then trying just to create a visual with these clip art trees and shrubs in front of Nesbit, and this would be all around Nesbit, that we could put more trees and plant as many as we could around the land. Alright, and then on slide 13 I have a picture, a few examples of some native plants and a native tree here in Georgia that would be good to plant around Nesbit. So the first is the oak leaf hydrangea, and then black-eyed Susans, and then the southern sugar maple. And then slide 14, I have created a visual of a before and after of the parking deck. So there's 2 sections beside Nesbit of parking, the parking lot. So I want to take one section and make it a parking deck, and take the other section out and make it natural free land where it can be a pervious surface for rainwater, so there's less runoff. And then slide 15, I have a picture of a nice cistern, and then rain barrels, and also the visual of a parking deck. And then also on slide 16, the rooftop garden. So what are the pros and cons? So when we make this change, there will be a lot less standing water because the rain will go into the pervious surfaces, the rain barrels, and the rooftop garden, and the cistern. The trees and plants will provide ecosystem services and help the runoff problem. There will be more natural and free land next to Nesbit to help with runoff and for students to hang out. The more land and trees we have for rainwater to go into, it will filter out the pollutants. The parking deck will make more room for people to park and will make the footprint smaller. since right now we have those 2 parking sections. And the cons, the issue will be that building a parking deck and ripping up the parking lot, the parking section next to the parking deck, can be costly, as well as planting trees, plants, and installing a rooftop garden will also cost money. And it'll also be costly to install rain barrels and cisterns. So slide 18, what exactly are the costs? So it'll be about $35 to $65 per square foot. That's the cost of building a parking deck. It costs $2 to $5 per square foot to rip up asphalt. A rooftop garden can cost anywhere from $30 to $200 per square foot. It'll cost about $190 for 10 southern sugar maples. Oak leaf hydrangea shrubs cost about $100 for 25 of them. The black-eyed Susans cost about $25 for 9. The cost of rain barrel is about $120 to $160, and the cost of a large cistern can cost anywhere from $500 to $3,000. But what are the savings? So conserving water with the rain barrels and cisterns, we can save money because this water can then be saved to water the land. And then overall, the changes will save us money and damage that floods can do, because floods, the cost for that will be a lot more expensive. If we can just take these precautions now, it'll be better in the long run. So how does this affect the sustainability of campus? So overall, making these changes to keep runoff in the system will decrease flooding. The more pervious surfaces we have around Nesbit, the less standing water we'll have on the walkway and in the parking lot. When we add more trees and plants, they'll uptake the water, and that's a long-term benefit for campus, because trees and plants provide ecosystem services for people, such as managing and filtering rainwater, regulating temperature and providing shade, and stabilizing the soil. The rain barrels will gather rainwater from the roof, and the cistern will catch rainwater as well for other uses. So before and after. Before the changes, the building has very little trees and plants. There are 2 sections of the parking lot beside Nesbit. This made a lot of standing water. On the roof, there's not a garden in place. We don't have a cistern or rain barrels to catch the rainwater. After the changes, the building is surrounded with several trees and plants. There's more pervious surfaces beside Nesbit because we took out that section of the parking lot. Now we have created a rooftop garden, and there are cisterns and rain barrels installed to catch the rainwater, and we are sending a lot less water downstream, so the system is not flooding. So in conclusion, ultimately making these sustainable development changes will do a greater amount of good than harm. In Martha T. Nesbit, we can start by replacing fixtures in the restrooms to promote water conservation. Then, outside of Nesbit, we need to keep runoff in the system by building a parking deck instead of the 2 separate parking sections, planting several trees and plants, creating a rooftop garden, installing rain barrels and a cistern outside of the building. In our community, change has to start somewhere. It can start at our UNG Gainesville campus at the Martha T. Nesbit building. It can be an example to those that attend UNG and can be the flame that ignites the fire for our community to acknowledge we need to make sustainable development changes for us individually and for our world. So alright, that does conclude my presentation. Thank you for listening to my proposal.